So Instagram will show Sonoma County as that picture-perfect vineyard sunsets and charming small towns. But the reality is that behind those filtered photos is a place where homes cost nearly $1 million, wildfire insurance has skyrocketed 34% since 2021, and most residents are drowning in high housing costs. So while tourists snap photos sipping wine on vacation, locals navigate insurance nightmares and pay 50% more than the average American for basic necessities. So today, I'm going to show you the real truth of living in Sonoma County. So let me get straight into something that's front of people's mind for both people who are buying as well as people who live here, which is the insurance situation. And this is making home ownership tougher for long-time locals as well as newcomers alike. I mean, insurance premiums have shot up all around Sonoma County, as they have across the whole of California, with some properties seeing 40 to even 60% increases since 2021. And I'm talking about clients who owned their homes for decades suddenly scrambling to afford coverage that used to be just a normal yearly expense. So what's behind this? Well, big insurers like Allstate have basically stopped writing new homeowner policies in California. I mean, this isn't just affecting a few properties, it's everywhere, and it's completely changing how people buy but more importantly, how they go about insuring their homes. For tons of homeowners, especially those in fire-prone areas, which we'll explore more when we talk about some of the sort of things that are happening with regard to climate change, the California Fair Plan has become the only option. But here's what those vacation blogs won't tell you. I mean, the Fair Plan has a ceiling of $3 million for a single structure, and you will need extra policies to cover everything except fire. So for many homeowners, they're now juggling multiple policies with different deductibles and all sorts of limitations. So this insurance situation is a major factor impacting existing residents as well as influencing home choice purchases, which I'll break down in a bit more detail later. Now, let me share something that might surprise you about which neighborhoods are facing the biggest insurance challenges. It's not always the rural areas that you'd expect. Some seemingly safe neighborhoods are seeing major premium increases that directly impact what people can afford. I mean, even parts of Santa Rosa that weren't touched by the recent fires have seen premiums jump 25, 30, 45% just because they're nearer higher risk areas. Meanwhile, some properties in traditionally risky areas with good fire prevention measures have got more stable rates. I mean, it's really not as straightforward as you might think. So now let's talk about what it actually costs to live in this Instagrammable paradise. But before we court the economic realities of living in wine country, do me a quick favor. Like I tell my clients who are looking at that perfect vineyard property, you're going to want some insider information before making any big decisions. So hit that subscribe button and you'll get my unfiltered takes on Sonoma County real estate delivered straight to your feed. No fancy tasting notes, just honest insights that could save you thousands. Think of it as your free insurance policy against real estate regrets. All right, now let's talk about what your bank account might look like when you live here. So the median household income here is about $102,000 according to census data, which sounds pretty good until you realize our cost of living index is 149.8. That means we're paying nearly 50% more than the average American for everyday stuff. I've got to tell you, this creates real challenges for many people. Let me break down what this actually means for your monthly budget if you're thinking about moving here. I mean, average home prices have now gone over $900,000. To comfortably afford that, you need to make around, $180,000 a year. And by comfortably afford, I mean keeping your housing costs under 30% of what you make before taxes, which is what financial advisors typically recommend. I mean, renting isn't much better. A one-bedroom apartment in Santa Rosa costs around, at least $2,000 a month. So someone making the county's median income would spend roughly, or certainly over 25% of their pre-tax earnings just on rent before they've paid for utilities. Only about 19% of Sonoma County households can actually afford median-priced homes. I mean, this creates a pretty big disconnect between the people who work here and those who can afford to live here. This affordability gap is one reason why service industry workers are among those who struggle most in Sonoma County, which we'll discuss a little bit later on. I mean, day-to-day expenses are higher too. I mean, everyone's noticed the cost of groceries going up. I mean, it costs on average 13% more than the national average. I mean, utilities are 9% higher and transportation's a whopping 27% more. I mean, I often tell clients relocating from the Midwest or the South to expect their grocery bills to jump, $200 to $300 a month for exactly the same item. Property taxes also add $1,000 more each year to home ownership costs. I mean, as a ballpark, it's about 1.25% of the purchase price of a property. For median priced homes, you're looking at roughly $7,500 annually in property taxes alone. And there's a specific income threshold where living in Sonoma County becomes financially doable rather than a constant struggle. I mean, based on what I've seen with client budgets, it's way higher than what most online calculators calculators would suggest. And honestly, the number might shock you. For a family of 4 wanting a balanced lifestyle, occasional dining out, normal fun activities, saving for college and retirement, and having an emergency fund, you're looking at needing almost $200,000 a year. I mean, that's why so many households here have got 2 incomes, or remote workers with higher salaries from tech or specialized fields in the Bay Area. Remote workers with location-independent income are actually one of the groups that tend to thrive here, which I'll explain when we look at who succeeds in Sonoma County. And these high costs get even trickier when you factor in our infrastructure and utility issues that add unexpected expenses to daily life. So now imagine having to plan life around, things like power shutoffs, or having to invest in backup power, and adjusting your routine around, water restrictions. Everyone who's lived here over the past 5 years has experienced this. I mean, it's not unique to Sonoma County, because a lot of people across the Bay Area have experienced this as well. But what's particularly interesting is how long-time residents have just adapted to this stuff, while newcomers often struggle with this concept and struggle with the adjustment. I mean, PG&E's public safety power shutoff events, which tie directly to the fire risk factors that we'll cover shortly, they've affected thousands of residents in recent years, with some outages lasting multiple days. However, these are increasingly rare, because certainly I feel as though PG&E it certainly used to feel like it had a single switch for the whole county, but now if they need to shut off a small neighborhood, they're able to do so in much more nuanced ways. So the impact of these is negligible compared to what it was like previously. Certainly, while there are no current restrictions right now, water conservation is just part of life here, as it is across the whole of California, with potential for recurring drought conditions, which inevitably leads to restrictions and conservation requirements. Some neighborhoods do actually have permanent water conservation guidelines, regardless of recent rainfall. And I should say these are guidelines, they're not restrictions. However, unless you are on a well, the real rate limiter for water usage is money. Water in city limits is incredibly expensive, which is why being on a well is awesome. I mean, I love it. It saves me so much money compared to being within the city limits. I mean, water's free, apart from the electric to pump it out of the ground, which is free if you've got solar. Well, almost free. It used to be the case that if you're planning to work remotely from Sonoma County, then internet connectivity could also be a real issue, which was slow and expensive. However, with Starlink, that's all changed. I mean, I've got Starlink on both my house and also actually on my adventure van, and it's absolutely awesome. It's plenty fast enough for any normal usage, with video calls, Netflix viewing, and everyday usage. If you're a virtual reality gamer, maybe you would have an issue, in which case you should live near cable. The roads too can present their own challenges. Near where I live, there's one bridge that's closed and another road that's slipped into the river, creating difficulties for people who have to work around it. I mean, the county's roads conditions are, average at best. In practical terms, that means road maintenance varies wildly by neighborhood, with some areas getting pretty rough during the rainy seasons. And infrastructure projects are happening, but they face funding and implementation challenges. So it might sound like all doom and gloom, and it's not. Experienced residents develop strategies that overcome some or all of these challenges. That's why many households now consider backup power solutions absolutely essential. I mean, these infrastructure adaptations add thousands to the cost of annual living, something that those relocation calculators never really mention. So many clients now factor infrastructure costs into their buying decisions, prioritizing properties with southern exposures for solar potential, or knowing that they want to put solar in, and existing backup systems, or at least budgeting so that they can put backup systems in place. And then also access to a northern sky, which is what you need for Starlink if you're not on cable internet. This adaptability to infrastructure challenges is just a fact of life in the world in which we're living. So while residents adapt to these infrastructure challenges, there's another big factor changing neighborhoods, which is tourism and short-term rentals. In popular areas of Sonoma County, vacation rentals have become super common. Regular neighborhoods, in some cases, have been transformed into places where tourism directly impacts daily life. So what does this actually look like? Well, short-term vacation rentals make up about 1.6% of Sonoma County's housing stock, but that percentage jumps way up in tourist hotspots like the Russian River communities, which experience some of the infrastructure challenges we just talked about. And then other places where there's a lot of vacation rentals are places like Sonoma Valley, and then on the outskirts of high tourist destination towns such as Healdsburg and Sonoma. In response to this, the county made some pretty big changes to the vacation rental rules in August 2023, which I think were actually a good thing, because there were some neighborhoods where the density of vacation rentals were up in the 40% region. So introducing these density caps made perfect sense, especially in areas where homes were in this sub $1 million bracket. So let's not forget though that tourism brings in serious money, with the wine industry alone contributing over $8 billion in annual economic impact to the county. This creates a complicated relationship where many residents benefit from tourist-related jobs while dealing with some of the negative sides in their everyday lives. There are new regulations for vacation rental permits and a better system of enforcement. Sonoma County's vacation rental ordinance includes density limits, exclusion zones, operating rules, including noise restrictions, as well as a whole host of other rules for hosts. And population growth has also slowed in recent years, with demographic shifts showing changes in the community makeup. Census data shows an aging population compared to state averages, with younger families increasingly being priced out of home ownership. And tourist areas can greatly impact daily life. They face big swings in traffic and noise and services restaurants locals love can be hard to get into in peak season. That being said, with the exception of the river, traffic across the county is pretty consistent. I don't ever feel there's a huge variance in travel times down to tourists. So beyond neighborhood changes, Sonoma County's environmental issues create another layer of challenges and costs from residents. Living in Sonoma County means accepting fire season as a reality. And as does living anywhere in the western US, you also have to understand that preparing for this does require investments and adaptations that those gorgeous real estate listings never mention. Wildfire risk is still a major concern after the significant fires of 2017, 18, and 19. There are some new building codes that are now in place for new construction, but I'm sure changes will only continue to be introduced to make fire-resistant structures more popular. Some of these changes will require specific materials or designs, as well as safety features. While they add to the construction costs, they also provide essential protection moving forward. What surprises many newcomers is the ongoing maintenance needed to manage this risk. I work with clients who budget a couple of $1,000s every year for vegetation management, depending on the size of their property and the location. These ongoing maintenance costs are part of why I recommend to clients building in some additional costs for rural properties especially. And then water conservation is also a priority despite a few wetter winters recently. Many homeowners have adapted their landscaping to reduce water consumption, replacing traditional lawns with drought-resistant alternatives. This adaptation process can typically cost upwards of $5,000, $10,000 for an average property, but it does help lower maintenance costs and also reduce water bills long-term if you're not on a well. Climate action initiatives across the county are addressing long-term sustainability, though implementation costs definitely affect property owners. So building electrification requirements, even though all electric code enforcement was suspended as of August 2024, solar mandates for new construction and water efficiency standards all contribute to resilience, but require upfront investments. You also need to be aware of properties that are impacted by environmental restoration projects, including creek rehabilitation, habitat conservation, and also coastal protection initiatives. These efforts enhance the region's natural beauty and the ecological health, but sometimes create development restrictions or additional permitting requirements for property owners in those affected areas. The way homeowners have developed isn't taught anywhere, but learned through existing experience. But understanding it before moving here can save thousands annually and provide genuine peace of mind. First, they adapt their properties with fire-resistant materials and proper ventilation systems and defensible space, most importantly. Second, they develop power systems for backup as well as communications. And then third, they also create clear evacuation plans and emergency supplies. This preparedness approach is part of what makes adaptability so crucial to success here. All these challenges create distinct patterns in who thrives here versus who struggles. After watching hundreds of residents' experiences and tracking who stays versus who leaves, I've noticed clear patterns about which people find success in Sonoma County and which end up being overwhelmed by the challenges. Here's what I've consistently seen. Those who thrive here typically include households with substantial income or assets. The financial reality we talked about earlier with $200,000 income threshold that I mentioned for families means that comfortable living requires resources that are well above the national average. Remote workers with location-independent income often do particularly well here. They enjoy the region's beauty and lifestyle benefits while maintaining salaries that are calibrated to higher cost markets. I've worked with tons of tech professionals and consultants and creatives who keep their Bay Area or out-of-state salaries while embracing living in wine country. And then retirees with solid financial plans planning also frequently thrive. Those who've accounted for some of the high costs, whether it's insurance or potential property costs and the increasing healthcare expenses as you get older, can really enjoy the region's beauty and the cultural activities and the mild climate without financial stress. I've noticed that people who prioritize lifestyle over financial optimization tend to report higher satisfaction. People who value outdoor recreation, food and wine experiences, and natural beauty often find the trade-offs worthwhile, even if it means tighter budgets or smaller homes than they could afford elsewhere. On the flip side, there are patterns among those who struggle. Service industry workers facing housing affordability challenges often find themselves priced out of the communities where they work. And I've seen talented restaurant staff and winery employees and retail workers commuting from increasingly distant communities as local housing costs rise beyond their reach. And then young families balancing childcare and housing costs face particular challenges, with childcare costs averaging $1,200 to $1,800 monthly per child, and housing eating up a large percentage of income. Many young families find themselves financially stretched despite having, what are good incomes. And then fixed income residents facing rising costs, particularly those who've purchased homes when prices and insurance were lower, sometimes struggle to adapt to increasing expenses. What's interesting? The single factor that best predicts whether someone will thrive or struggle in Sonoma County isn't income level. It's something entirely different that most people don't consider until it's too late. It's adaptability. Those who approach Sonoma County with flexibility, willingness to adjust to expectations, and openness to new solutions consistently report higher satisfaction than those who arrive with rigid expectations about cost, convenience, or lifestyle. So understanding these realities, let me share some resources for making an informed decision about Sonoma County. Making the decision, given everything we've covered, insurance challenges, housing costs, infrastructure considerations, impact to tourism, and climate change adaptations. How do you figure out if Sonoma County is right for your specific situation? Well, here's the framework I use with my clients. Beyond finances, lifestyle evaluation is crucial. Consider your comfort with infrastructure limitations as seasonal changes, whether it's flooding or power shutoffs. For most people, those are minor inconveniences, while others discover they're major stresses. Think about your tolerance for tourism. Do you want to live among tourists and restaurant crowds, which we explored when discussing neighborhood transformations or changing neighborhood dynamics? Some residents embrace the energy and diversity tourism brings, while others find it disruptive. Personally, I love it. It makes me feel very lucky to live here and somewhere where people from all over the world come to visit. Consider the value you place on natural beauty versus conveniences. Sonoma County offers extraordinary landscapes, outdoor recreation, and agricultural beauty with fewer urban amenities than large metropolitan areas. Figuring out which you prioritize helps predict satisfaction. And consider the property value fluctuation potential. While Sonoma County has historically maintained strong property values, there are external factors such as climate change, insurance challenges, economic factors, which could create new variables that are worth evaluating. Finally, evaluate long-term financial sustainability. Do you have a plan that works for you from an income and expenses level based on your current assets? Look, I could stand here all day showing you picture-perfect vineyard views and sunsets and redwood-lined drives, and trust me, they're as breathtaking as everyone says, but that wouldn't be the full story of Sonoma County in 2025. So what I've shared today isn't meant to discourage you from this incredible place I call home, but rather to arm you with the information and the reality you need to make the right decision for you. So if you're considering making Sonoma County your home or thinking it might be time to sell, I'd love to be your guide through this complex landscape. After years of helping people navigate the vineyards, the beaches, the neighborhoods, I've definitely developed a sixth sense for matching people with the right property and the right neighborhoods, steering them clear of the potential mistakes they may make. So send me an email at david@BruingtonHargreaves.com and let's have an honest conversation about what it is you're looking for and what your expectations are. And now that you understand the real-life challenges and opportunities of Sonoma County, you're probably wondering what this means for actual real estate market. Well, I've just released a companion video that dives deep into the dramatic shifts we're seeing in 2025, including which neighborhoods are suddenly cooling, where surprising new hotspots are emerging, and the price trends that are catching even veteran realtors off guard. So make sure you check out this next video. See you then.